Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Zion Fashion. My name is Oderi Dekabirat. Today I'm going to be showing you how to draft your basic pencil skirt. So this is the measurements we need for our skirt. We need our waist to hips, and skirt length for our measurements. Before you start drafting, make sure your paper is unfold. As you can see, the edges of our paper is not very smooth. So for us to get a smooth edge, and because we need sewing allowance on top, so I'm just going to measure 1 inches down, which will serve as my waistline, to get a straight and smooth line, just like so. I'm just going to connect the lines together. So this is the point where my measurements will be starting from. So this point will be my waistline. The next measurement I'll be taking is my waist to hips measurement, which is 7.5 inches. So I'm just going to mark 7.5 inches, just like so. Then draw a straight line to connect my lines together. Then the next measurement we'll be taking is our skirt length, which is 21 inches. You place your tape from your waistline, then you're going to mark 21 inches down. Sorry, it's not really showing. I just marked 21 inches below and connect your lines. Just be labeling our lines. This is our skirt length. This is our hips line. So we'll be doing some little calculations. Our round measurements around your waist and around the hips measurement, you divide it by 4. So after dividing by 4, for the waist it is 7.5, and for the hips it is 9.5 inches. So these are the measurements we are going to be taking on the vertical lines. So we are going to take our 7.5 inches on the waistline and add 1 inches for the dart. For beginners who are not really conversant with what that means, that gives your cloth shape. It brings out the shape of your clothes. That's the purpose of that. Also on the hips line, we are going to mark our 9.5 inches. So because you are sewing a pencil skirt, what you're going to do is, whatever measurement you have on your hips line, you're going to subtract it by 2. In my case, I had 9.5, so I subtracted 2. So that was why I marked 7.5 on my hemming line, which I labeled as XL. If I wanted a straight skirt, I'm just going to take my 9.5 and place it back on my hemming line. The next thing we'll be doing is we'll be determining our darts. So for you to get your dart measurement, your nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. In my case, it is 8 divided by 2, it is 4. That was why I marked 2. Then I'll come down by 4 inches, then draw a straight line to connect it together, like so. After connecting my lines, I'm just going to go ahead to mark half inches on both sides. I'm going to mark half inches on both sides, then connect it like so. Connect it just this way. So this is our darts. So now we are just going to connect our lines. I'm just going to connect my waistline to my hips line using my curve. Then I'm going to use a straight ruler to connect from my hips to my hemming line, which I labeled as SL. I'm just going to connect it to my hemming line like so. Then use my curve to curve it, like to give it the shape. So to erase any kind of budges, we are going to come down by half inches from our waistline, because if you notice, our stomach is not very straight like our back, which is very straight. So that's what we are trying to erase, to erase any kind of foldings and all. And we are going to connect using a straight ruler like so. After connecting, the next thing we'll be doing is we'll be marking our sewing allowance. We are going to take 1 inches on the waistline, 1 inches on the hips line, and 1 inches on the hemming line, which I labeled as SL. Don't get it confused. So after doing that, we are just going to go ahead to connect our lines. We use our pattern curve to curve it like so, then use a straight ruler to curve it like so from the hips line to the hemming line. I'm just going to curve it to give it that hip shape. After that, we are just going to add 1 inches for our hemming allowance to sew it up, then connect the lines just like so. Go ahead to also add half inches allowance above the waistline, then connect it like so. Mind you, we are going to add 1 inches by the sides and 1 inch below in the below the hemming line, but for the waistline you're going to mark half inches above. Now we are going to cut it out. Make sure you are cutting on the sewing allowance line, don't cut it on the main line unless you're going to have a problem there. So this is what our skirt looks like. Now we are going to go ahead to draft the back piece. To draft the back piece, make sure your paper is on fold. Whenever you're drafting, make sure your paper is on fold. So I'm just going to mark 1 inches all down, which will serve as my zip allowance. That's where I'm going to place my zip. Then I'm just going to go ahead to connect my lines together just like so. Next thing we'll be doing is I'm going to place my front piece on that 1 inches line, then pin it down. If you can remember, when we were drafting the front piece, we came down by half inches, so we are going to return that half inches on the waistline. Just place your tape, then mark half inches, then connect it to this line like so. Place your ruler like so and connect it together. So we're just going to go ahead to cut out our back piece. Just follow the front piece line just like so. Don't cut out the 1 inches we left for the zip allowance, you're going to leave it. So we are done drafting our back piece. I'm just going to remove the pin and transfer my dart. So what I'm just going to do, I'm just going to measure 4 inches just like we did for the front from the zip allowance line, then mark it. Then I'm just going to go down by 5 inches. Then I'm just going to connect like so. Then I'm going to add half inches on both sides, then connect it like this. So we are done transferring our back darts. Just going to label our zip allowance so you don't cut it out. So I'm just going to open up my back pattern and cut it out into 2 pieces. Don't forget we left 1 inches on both sides just like so. Can you see our back piece is 2 while our front piece will be just 1. The next thing we'll be doing is we'll be cutting our fabrics. Make sure your fabric is on fold. Make sure it is on fold. That's very important to take note of. So we are just going to fold our fabric, then place our pattern paper on top of it, on top of our fabric, then pin it down. After we are done pinning it down, you are just going to cut out our fabric. Just follow our pattern paper just like so. The next thing we'll be doing is we'll be cutting our back. Make sure your fabric is on fold. Don't forget, like I said earlier, we need 2 pieces for our back. That was why I cut it up. So now since my fabric is already on fold, I'm just going to use one out of the piece. So by the time I'm going to cut it, I'm still going to get 2 pieces. And since it's going to be two-piece, there's no point placing it on the edge of the fabric. You can just place it anywhere. Just make sure it is straight, then cut it out. Make sure you are following the pattern paper like so. So for my front, this is what it looks like when I open it up. It's just one piece, but for the back it is two piece. So I'm just going to transfer my darts to my fabric, just the same measurement we took on our paper, on our pattern paper. That's still the same measurement we take on our fabric. As you can see, I'm still taking 4 inches. After taking 4 inches, I'm also going to measure 4 inches, then draw a straight line, then half inches on both sides, then connect just like we did on our pattern paper. So I'm done transferring the darts of our front piece. Make sure the dart is on both sides of the front piece. When transferring our back piece, don't forget there is a 1 inch zip allowance. So basically, whatever you're going to measure is going to start from your 1 inches. So 1 inches plus 4 inches, that gives us 5 inches. That was why I marked 5 inches, and I'm going to mark 5 inches down. I'm just basically transferring what I have on the paper to my fabric. So by the time we are done, this is what our front piece should look like, and for our back piece, this is what it should look like. So watch out for the sewing part in my next video. Please, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment and share. This is the only way our channel can grow. Thank you. Bye.